Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here, back with another Varchild's War Raiders video. Okay, so I need to tell a story here. So, literally on the day that I recorded with this deck previously, I got an email from Michael C, who kind of wrote me this very nice, like, nostalgia-filled email talking about, like, alliances and some of their first rares and things like that. And they were like, it'd be really cool to see Varchild's War Riders in Legacy. And if you can 3-2 with it, I'll throw in an extra $100 as a bonus donation. I was like, bet. And I sent them a screenshot of what I was recording with that day. And I'm like, I messed around with this in the tournament practice room. Like I'll see if I can do the real thing in an actual league now. And as it would so happen, one of the people who provided me with the Mardu Varchild deck list to start with, Ashikor from my Discord, said, if you can 3-2 with that in an actual league, I'll match the donation as well. So we are attempting to get a 3-2, to get a 60%er with this crazy brew today. And if we do, I get $200. And if I don't, I made an entertaining video for people anyway. It's all upside from here. All right. So in case you didn't see the first video, the general idea is to play cards that give my opponents tokens, like Varchild's War Riders and Hunted Phantasm. But we're then going to turn those into downsides. We are going to instantly kill the tokens with things like Illness in the rank, or otherwise use the tokens for a negative thing, like with Slaughter Specialist. Every time a creature my opponent controls dies, it gets a +1/+1 counter, and she gets thick real quick. Now, as far as a new addition to the deck list, I'm going to try Rampaging Ferocidon this time. Card so good it's gotten banned in some formats. Just throwing it out there. Totally right to be playing with banned cards in Legacy, right? That's what we're allowed to do. Poor little dinosaur pal. Anyway, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, Rampaging Ferocidon deals 1 damage to that creature's controller, and we pair that with Trespasser's Curse to do the same thing yet again. So, last time around, we started with a Mardu deck list and then added the cantrips for extra consistency, and I really liked that. So this time around, we're going to stick with this build. However, we're going to add a couple of expressive iterations to the sideboard. This is just a raw, powerful card, and I very much like the idea of being able to sub this out, like board in like Plague Engineers and expressive iterations for Force of Wills for the matchups where my opponent isn't doing something super unfair. Otherwise, we have a pile of targeted cards for specific matchups. And sorry, I just realized my volume was a tiny bit lower than it normally was. Google Meets does weird things to microphones when you have to mute yourself because you're coughing because you had COVID a little while ago and everything is awful still. All right. I'm very much excited for this deck. This deck was very fun to play last time around. Again, in no capacity do I think this is a deck list that we will 5-0 with. Like, this is very much a for funsy deck list. But with the bar set at 3-2, like that's reasonable. We can maybe do that. Let's hope we do some absolutely ridiculous things here in this video, and I hope you enjoy. If you want to see more of this, again, there is another league where we kind of tuned the deck to get it to this point. And shout out to Michael C. and Ashikor and everyone else who helped get this deck to the point where it's at. Let's battle. Consider throwing me a like before this video begins. It's one of the easiest ways to support my content for free. Round 1 here is a question of how much I believe in this fucking brainstorm. This is way too much land. I can put back 2 of these, keep 3 lands. I don't know that this is actually better than just mulliganing to something that has multiple of my pieces innately. Like, I'm not good against combo. I don't have Force of Will. I'm not really good against fair stuff because I'm, like, super wastelandable. I basically don't know what this hand is good against, and so I'm going to go ahead and mulligan this 1. Why have you forsaken me, mana god? What have I done to you? I have played the basic lands that you require me of in this wasteland format, and you do this to me. Alright. Okay, this is easily the best hand so far. Force of Will needs to go back, and then I probably just need to keep this curve and get rid of Ponder, and just, like, accept that I don't get flexibility in my hand. I think you can also keep Ponder over Rampaging Ferocidon. Alright. Am I playing Forbidden Orchard on 1? I don't really want to play that till Illness in the Ranks is in play, if I'm being honest. So let's fetch an Underground Sea. I probably want an Underground Sea here. And let's put some Illness in these ranks, eh? Oh no. Opponent can actually remove stuff. Oh. Ah ha ha. Ha ha ha. Alright, I probably just want to play my War Riders this turn. And then I want to play like Slaughter Specialist, Forbidden Orchard next turn, or maybe Rampaging Ferocidon. If one of my cards gets forged, I want it to be this one. So let's fetch. I'm gonna grab another duel here. If we're in a back to basics situation in game 1, I think that's just going to be very bad for me, especially after a double mulligan. Alright. My excellent 3/4 red creature has resolved. Nothing can go wrong from here. Oh, neat. Doing over there? Huh? Yeah, that's fine. Gonna bounce my Illness in the ranks. Now you're gonna bounce my creature. That's totally fair. So what am I playing this turn? I would like to play both of these next turn, so I guess that means play Rampaging Ferocidon. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and do Forbidden Orchard here. You cast that, then I can save my fetch land for a little bit later, in case I need to, like, Ponder or Brainstorm Shuffle. Would be very bad versus Supreme Verdict. Want to get, like, some curses attached to my opponent or something like that. Prismatic Ending is just, like, so good here. Alright. Hey, some curses. So many different things that can happen here. I think I want to try to get Trespasser's Curse attached to my opponent immediately, and kind of see where things go from there. Okay, now do I want to play a Slaughter Specialist or Varchild's War Raiders pre-combat? Awkward because of, like, sorcery speed stuff that can happen. I think the answer is no. Is, like, Supreme Verdict very specifically. Okay, I got to eat the Teferi. I wasn't expecting. Now I'm fetching. Maybe we can start hedging for some basics now. I don't know. Maybe I can start hedging for some basics now. Alright. I don't know in which order I am supposed to play these cards without having more matchups under my control. Alright, good stuff. I will take some damage from my own creature. That was mitigated by my Trespasser's Curse, though. Please don't verdict me. I said please. I said please. What more do you want from me? This Slaughter Specialist will be very big very quick, though. Yeah. We very much don't want this thing in play. This searches for cheap removal. A Force of Will. Yeah, Force of Will is not great for me. And Prismatic Ending takes away my Illness in the ranks, which is super annoying right now. Oh, 2 of those. Okay. Well, I can get 1 to resolve now. But I very much wanted Illness in the ranks. Alright, so my opponent makes a creature, and then Trespasser's Curse drains them for 1. And then we're going to kind of repeat this process here. Now, unfortunately, I've given my opponent some things that are going to protect their creatures. And very specifically here, like, I have given them 3 bodies, which means that this doesn't just get to go in for free. And so, like, that Narset's pretty well protected. Their life total is pretty well protected. Really just want, like, an Illness in the Ranks effect here. The good news is, if they're a Days Undoing deck, I have no cards in hand to lose. Alright, there's the Narset minus. That is Days Undoing. Ooh, there's a Snapcaster Mage doing a very weird pop-out thing. Okay, they're doing a Prismatic Ending, sure. They're just answering my curse right now. They're just answering my curse. Sure. Scalding Tarn is not what I want to draw here. I think I'm in pretty bad shape. I think I have to swing both of these creatures at Narset to potentially stop the Days Undoing from being one-sided, but I think my opponent just chumps and lets these grow. They might chump and then trade one. Yeah, that's what's happening. That's fine. I've got a decently large-sized creature here, and I have a lot of Slaughter Specialist triggers, is all I'm saying. We end with this being a 6/6. And unfortunately, I am out of gas now. And this is kind of why I wanted some expressive iterations somewhere in the deck. I think my average converted mana cost is... Oh, fuck me. Is high enough that I don't necessarily want them in... Oh, that's weird to me. I thought that very easily was going to be bounce this creature and then Days Undoing to end the... Oh no, never mind. They're going to do it in my draw step instead. I thought they were going to want to permanently get rid of this creature. They've got other plans, and unfortunately I did not. Well, I guess it doesn't matter if I draw an instant, right? They just get to play their sorcery at instant speed. And I am a sad panda. I still get to attack, is the good news. So I'll send this at Teferi, but unfortunately I have given my opponent blockers, and then this Teferi just gets to bounce this creature. So my Slaughter Specialist is not doing its thing here. It is kind of working against me. My blue-white control opponent now has 8 cards in hand and 2 Planeswalkers on board. I do not expect to win from this position, but like, there's a lot of dollar bills on the line, so I'll miserably grind it out if I have to. Now, if my opponent like goes and puts a Shark Typhoon in play or something like that, I'm fine with conceding, but otherwise I'm okay attempting to grind out the game, even though I'm in like a very much lost situation. The Wandering Emperor as well. I didn't know this art existed. Definitely feels like some anime shit. I'm into it. I think with my opponent having 3 Planeswalkers now... Oh, okay, well... Oh, no, that's not gonna do what I want it to do, huh? Alright, I think with 3 active Planeswalkers, I'm comfortable throwing in the towel. Plus 7 more cards in hand. Alright, let's Pyroblast an Expressive Iteration here. I'll board my Force of Wills out. I don't want a 2-for-1 myself. I'm probably comfortable getting rid of a couple of Preordains, just to better hedge against Narset a little bit. And if I don't need my blue count to be high, I can also consider Plague Engineer or the more castable Force of Negation. I think I like Plague Engineer over Preordain here. Like, getting rid of the tokens that I give my opponent so I can kill the Planeswalkers seems very important. And, like, my Illness in the Ranks is not super likely to stick around because my opponent has such good removal. This is a matchup that I just think is going to be very tough. I'm about accumulating multiple cards, and my opponent is about countering or killing everything that hits play. Alright, I've got an opening hand that's good enough to be a keep here. I don't have a turn 1 play or anything, but I have relatively powerful plays for after that. I'm a little unsure how exactly I approach this in terms of sequencing. I think I want to keep the War Riders for a little bit later. But at the same time, like in the world where it actually survives, I would like those numbers to tick up sooner rather than later. 100% of the time I'm fetching Underground Sea here. That's happening. I'm actually going to play the Curse this turn. I really don't want to start giving my opponent's bodies before I can remove them. And my mana's pretty tight for a little while. There is a Force of Negation pitching a Hydroblast. I wonder if this is one of those situations where it's like I'm playing Hydroblast to fight against the Pyroblasts that I know are all over the format. Alright, there is a Forbidden Orchard. Opponent does not have white mana showing yet. There's a lot of really cool worlds where I just play Hunted Phantasm and then Plague Engineer all those tokens away and trigger Slaughter Specialist 700 times. I like those worlds a lot. I don't think I am just going to immediately play out the Hunted Phantasm. I think there's too many worlds where my opponent just like drops a 3-mana Planeswalker next turn. That's a pain in the ass. And I don't want my opponent to have creatures to protect that. If I could cast the Plague Engineer with Pyroblast backup, I would also really love that. Are we resolving? The bad news is we're not resolving. The good news is that my opponent pitched a Supreme Verdict to stop my Slaughter Specialist. And I'm relatively happy with that exchange. I mean, the bad news is my opponent could just, like, play Narset into Days Undoing and derp. I'm sad. That is cycling a Timeless Dragon. Finding Tundra. Sure. Absolutely. Again, anything that's not impacting the board is very good for me here. I think I'm mostly looking to play Hunted Phantasm into Plague Engineer on Goblin as of right now. Ooh, Illness in the ranks. Now I've got multiple things that I can play next turn. Alright, let's play a 4-6 here. You may have 1 creature token as a trait. Creature tokens. Just saying. Just saying. Now, there's some pretty annoying worlds here where my opponent just, like, removes this and then crashes in for 6. I think I'm less scared of that than I am of, like, the Days Undoing combo at the moment. I think. Oh? Like to get saucy in the combat step? Absolutely. I will block this spirit token. Take 5 from the goblins. I'm at 14. Okay. I probably want to attack first. See what my opponent does about this. If I eat a Source of Plowshares. Like, opponent certainly has something because they didn't just, like, eternalize this creature. So this is fine and expected, whatever it is. This is the Wandering Emperor, sure. Alright, so I'm about to lose my creature. That's okay. Then, this is a little awkward if opponent has Force of Will. I think I want to play this card first. As higher upside if this resolves. Then I can name Samurai with Plague Engineer. And then Wandering Emperor doesn't actually ever make tokens. It's possible that line is wrong because, like, I have many other things that I care about here. Alright. I have hopefully become a thorn in the Wandering Emperor's side. But I really need to accumulate more stuff here. Like, now I've got stuff that kills and weakens tokens. I have more token producers. Now I need a real win condition. Alright, there is a mountain from my opponent. Snapcaster Mage. Okay, Snapcaster. What are we doing, Moto? We're real drunk in terms of zones today, huh? Go back? Go back. Now, this unfortunately does mean that I can't just cleanly kill the Wandering Emperor here. Something that I had planned to do on my turn. There's no shuffle with that Ponder, which does not bode well for me. Alright, yep. Opponent going with the counter. First strike until end of turn. So I can still trade with it. Yes, I am always casting this card. And then I think I'm usually playing Hunted Fan. Ooh. That's really fucking good. Especially in, like, when I get to order them. Yeah. Absolutely. I think I'm just going to draw the Expressive Iteration next turn. I won't shuffle. So let's attempt Pyroblast on Snapcaster Mage to get this in here and kill this Planeswalker. Well, I guess I'm attacking. I still need to force this creature off the board and then attempt to kill this creature next turn. Opponent's Hellbent now, but they have a card chilling. Alright, let's attempt to finish off this Planeswalker. Yep. Trade these. And I'll play my War Riders. I'm drawing an Expressive Iteration next turn. It is really strong. It's just a question of, like, how much collateral damage happens in the meantime. Alright. Yes, you may have tokens that instantly die. Oh, I need to do that the other way. Go blue-red with Expressive Iteration. I'll put a Ponder into my hand. Put a Ponder on bottom of library. Put a Polluted Delta in exile. I will play Delta. I think I want to just fetch now. I think I'm losing to back to basics anyway. Yeah. I'm just going to ignore that and just fix harder. I think I'm going to go ahead and play out another creature right now. Although maybe that's wrong. I want to play out this creature while Illness in the Ranks is still in play. Like, that seems really important to me. And then I can try to use this as the thing that I machine gun with some other effect. I don't know, maybe it's better to ponder and look for the curse specifically this turn. I'm just, like, not good at answering non-blue planeswalkers. Kind of one of my issues here. Alright. There is a Samurai. Opponent's got one card left. Relatively likely to be a counterspell. We do have a 4/6 creature that can attack. That's some good news here. Alright. Let's find a card that does stuff. Water Specialist? That is probably an above average draw. I think I do that. I don't think I take another Varchild, though. I will not shuffle. Guess I should play this land drop out ahead of time. Alright, there is my Slaughter Specialist. Alright, my opponent gets a creature that instantly dies. Now I can go ahead and go to combat. If I attack with both of these creatures, my opponent can block like this, keep this alive, and then minus to kill something. Or I can just attack with my 4/6, but it gets chumped and then exiled by the Wandering Emperor. So I think I like sending in both. I don't know, not attacking is also an option. And just attack with a greater army next turn. I don't know, I would be very happy trading the Wandering Emperor for this creature right now, right? Yeah, let's actually just make this attack. Oh shit, this can't be blocked. Alright, opponent had Swords to Plowshares, unfortunately. Alright, there's a fetch. Sorry about thinking about that for so long. And Mystic Sanctuary for what? Ponder, sure. That's fine. It's possible that I am supposed to tap all of these in response to Ponder in case my opponent is playing something like Actual Factual Disenchant. But those things are relatively rare. I'd rather just, like, hide this for right now. Alright, there's no shuffle. Okay, it's just Ponder time. That one did shuffle. Yuck, there's Narset. These are, very good for my opponent. There's a Teferi. That will be a pain in the butt in a little while. My opponent just has a mob here. I don't know, hopefully I find a way to just, like, drain my opponent to death here. Alright, let's yield to that. Let's yield to that. And let's continue the process. And continue to pump this creature to the stratosphere. My War Riders trigger is absolutely adding up here. This Slaughter Specialist is very good. I know that I'm going to want to shuffle because I don't want the top card of my deck. I don't want another War Riders right now. 3/4 can't really attack this turn. This attack is not amazing. It just, like, requires a chump from my opponent. I will be going at Narset. My opponent will just throw one token under the bus here, which is fine. This creature's huge. I can't make it unblockable or anything, but it's huge. About to get bounced to my hand with Teferi in all likelihood, but doesn't make it less huge. let's see what Narset does. Narset Fighting Days Undoing, so my opponent can like Teferi. Oh, it's a prismatic ending. Losing Illness in the ranks is pretty huge. This. Yeah. There's the Teferi about to bounce my creature. Yep. I very much need to fetch and shuffle my library at this point. Alright, opponent going for a +1/+1 counter. That's fine. There's worlds where they just try to turn the corner here and just kill me in 2 turns, by the way. I don't think they're going to, because, like, the counter probably would have gone here if that was going to happen, but there's timelines. Alright. I am going to fetch. Yeah, I think this is, basic lands be damned. This game is over before a back to basics matters. I think I am keeping this in the hopes that I can still win this game by finding something that eliminates these tokens. But that did not happen. This 5/5 still beats my creature. Gonna hold this for a brainstorm, but Narset is in play, so that's pretty rough. I think next turn I need to find a way to wipe these tokens or I lose. But I'm going to play towards the world in which I miraculously still win this game. Ugh, yeah, opponent's sources of card advantage are just burying me here. They found a swords. I don't think I can really beat that after my opponent like makes these creatures larger. Yeah, so I'm gonna die to that in 3 turns. More likely, I just die next turn to my opponent turning all of their creatures sideways, though. I will believe. That is not going to do it. Yeah, I am comfortable conceding here. GG's. Alright, unfortunately, Badlands as my lands here means that this hand is not keepable. This one has to be a mulligan. This hand is fine. I think I'm going to be keeping this pitching the Force of Will. I think I lose this game if my Polluted Delta land gets wastelanded. So I think this is just going to be a basic island here. And I will preordain. Not want Force of Will. I honestly don't want preordain either. I want to just naturally draw something that I can play. So I'm going to go ahead and bottom that. Yeah, that's fine. So this game, my goal is to stack up Trespassers Curses and Rampaging Ferocidons and hopefully not die to my opponent's turn 1 Merit Lodge. That is a Pithing Needle. Absolutely. Absolutely fucking Pithing Needle me. Name Wasteland. I don't have it. Yeah, there is Wasteland. Okay, so we are playing against a Turbo Depths deck list or something in that general ballpark. I love drawing that Force of Will now. This is just going to be a Trespasser's Curse. And we'll hope that this Force of Will counters a critical spell instead of just eating a Thoughtseize or Duress effect. That's 2 mana. Do I care? I don't exactly care. I think I just let that happen. Like, my opponent can have their 2 for 1. But I don't really... that's annoying. It's happening, but it's annoying. I really wanted this Force of Will. Opponent might be playing the deck that I played on the channel for you all a couple days ago. So, need to keep in mind the old transformational sideboard. I think I just Trespassers Curse them and Brainstorm later. I don't think I need to hit this land drop that badly. I am good with that. It's just like super awkward for me if I miss the land drop here. Like after brainstorming and then I don't put this into play. I think I just want to have more cards in my hand before I brainstorm. Now that I have nothing to do with my mana on my turn, I'm 100% firing this off. Oh no! Alright, well, we can brainstorm again next turn. Huh? We can brainstorm again next turn. I don't want to start Forbidden Orcharding my opponent yet. I think I'm just going to put back double Forbidden Orchard, play Valk in case I need to emergency brainstorm for some reason. Alright. Playing it cool? I hope we're playing it cool. Actually, do I just pass the turn here? I'd brainstorm. I would really like to brainstorm and fetch. Yeah. If I miss, I miss illness in the ranks. That's pretty good. Most of the rest of what's going on here is not good, though. I'm going to put back... This is awkward. I want to have triple Force of Will in hand in case my opponent uses a discard spell on me. But I also want to be able to start hard casting these Force of Wills next turn. Alright. That means burying this illness in the ranks for now. Alright. This is not the way that I anticipated these games going. But it's what I've got to work with. It's a real shame that we are at 19 instead of 20, just by the way. Because if we were at 20, we could buy a turn. Alright. I think I am okay to cast Illness in the ranks, but I gain very little from doing so. I'm just going to I'm going to hold up hard casting Force of Will and pitch casting Force of Will. Okay, cool. So now I can play this, play Illness in the ranks, and now I can actually start killing my opponent. And I have a lot of protection available. Alright, here is an end of turn crop rotation, which I will absolutely just Force of Will. And this is going to be a Force of Will. Can I not count? Force of Will, cast, target you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I don't know what went wrong that first time. Alright, Trespasser's Curse, you're good. And then let's always yield to that as well. And we take out that crop rotation. I've got the ability to counter at least one more. Yeah, absolutely not. And this is why we kept the triple Force of Wills in hand. Now, if you just, like, play Vampire Hexmage and remove your Dark Depths that way, fuck me. Alright. The Flood. The Flood is very real here. I am going to just go ahead and pass the turn here. I am at 20. Alright. So, Merit Lodge occurs. Merit Lodge changes my opponent's life total and my life total. I am still alive. I don't think I can beat Merit Lodge in play. But I'm still alive. Maybe there's worlds. I don't know what those worlds look like, but maybe they exist. Let's drain my opponent for 2 at end of turn here. And opponent goes down to 15. There's an illness in the ranks. I can shrink Merit Lodge to an 18-18. I can go up to 6 life. That's not going to do it, though, unfortunately. GG. You know, we very much missed on our brainstorms this game. I don't have a lot in the sideboard here for this matchup. I guess I'll play Force of Negations. I'm not the biggest fan of them. I don't know that I want to surgically extract stuff either. So I think I'm going to play this and Plague Engineers, specifically so I can stop Vampire Hexmage. Progressive Iteration is maybe playable. I think I need to take Rampaging Ferocidon out so that I can gain life with Trespasser's Curse to survive a single Merit Lodge hit. And then maybe I trim like 2 Preordains or something like that to round out the deck list. I just don't know that I have enough time for this. Alright, what are we doing with this? Turn 1, Illness in the Ranks. Turn 2, War Riders. I don't think this has enough damage output to just kill my opponent. Like, I'm playing a 3-4 into a 4-6. I think I can do better. This is, I guess, acceptable. I'm going to need a 3rd land, because I think I have to throw back Mountain here. Actually, if this is Undergrounds... No, I really need the blue pips for multiple... Alright, yeah, it's Mountain. Alright. So our red cards aren't going to be great for right now, but I really need to play this Illness in the Ranks on turn 1, followed by Trespasser's Curse on turn 2. I really don't want to Force of Negation. I don't have to. This resolves. I don't want it to take my Trespasser's Curse, but I think my opponent will care more about my Force of Negation. Oh, they did the good play, unfortunately. Alright, maybe we'll play a pair of 4/6s and everything will be fine. Now that my opponent knows to play around Force of Negation, it's significantly worse. This Brainstorm has some lifting to do. This is just 2 lands back here. I'll keep a Underground Sea on top. That Brainstorm basically didn't change my hand. Like, that Brainstorm got converted into another card. Like, into a land drop. But it didn't actually help me shuffle away any of this stuff, which I did not want. Alright. The game of staring at each other continues. Will be a Volk, so I get red mana. Yeah, I mean, I am going to have to play creatures here to win the game. I don't think I'm winning this if I just, like, hold up Force of Negation and wait. I think this is playing a 4/6 into a 3/4. Unless, like, something changes and I lose this Force of Negation. Yeah, opponent is playing the version that has the transformational Doomsday sideboard that I played. Alright, cool stuff. Alright, let's crash in with this 4/6. Yeah. Drops my opponent to 14, which is conveniently a 2-turn clock with these cards. I don't know, maybe I just hold up Force of Negation until I draw another land, and then I can just play this. Nah, I need to get my opponent dead. I don't want to give them more turns. More turns allow Doomsday wins that are currently not super viable. Like, I'm fine with giving up an extra card to pitch cast Force of Negation. Does that do anything right now? It does. Maybe it doesn't, actually. Yeah, that doesn't do anything right now. My opponent's turn here will be when I potentially get bit in the butt for playing out this card. Okay, no. Well, no. Basically, no. Alright, I've lost my Hunted Phantasm, which is not surprising. Opponent's at 10. Doomsday's not super viable from here, given these creatures. Okay, my opponent's at the point where they've just conceded to my onboard damage. That is fine with me. Alright, we get another chance here. I very specifically know what deck my opponent is on. Feel okay about my boarding. I'm still kind of eyeing Expressive Iteration. My opponent's, like, sideboarded into Doomsday, and they're, like, just slower, and they have to do, like, past the turn-based lines. Expressive Iteration becomes a little bit more attractive. But I still think at the end of the day, I need to just be playing cards that kill my opponent. So I think I'm just going to leave my boarding as is. This is a hand that I am going to keep. I don't think it's an amazing hand by any stretch of the imagination. But I think it has a force of will for some of the scariest things that my opponent can do. It still has a force of will. However, now it does not have the blue card to pair with it. At least I think. Yeah. Blue card, blue card, blue card. Fuck. Well, alright. Be that way. Enjoy your 1919 Merit Lodge. Yeah, losing that Brainstorm was real rough. That was the best card in my hand, just kind of objectively speaking, and also the card that pitched a Force of Will at the same time. Now opponent is sitting here, like, in a do you feel lucky punk situation, where, like, they might be able to go for something, but if I drew a blue card, and I probably did, you know, roughly a third of the time, not great. I'm gonna sit here like I'm thinking about this for a second, and then I'll go ahead and let it resolve. Alright, yeah, they are playing the Doomsday package. Now, this is going to take them 2 turns to win. And they may or may not be able to beat Force of Will easily. This isn't like a traditional Doomsday list that just, like, has Cavern of Souls and all sorts of easy things that give my opponent great utility. Oh, my opponent also has a Verdant Catacombs in play. No, I guess it's a swamp because of Urborg. Never mind. There were some worlds where things got a little weird with casting Witherbloom command. My opponent's pile is going to involve a Witherbloom command that mills a couple of cards, and then a Thassa's Oracle off of, what is it? Sunken Ruins. This is slightly different from the version that I played. I think my version only had 2 Witherbloom commands. There's 4 Witherbloom commands in exile right now. So they actually have a Doomsday pile that, or a Thassa's Oracle pile that doesn't use Witherbloom command. Don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but I can't for the life of me draw a blue card here, unfortunately. Let's always yield to that. This card, unfortunately, is not likely to beat my opponent in terms of raw power on its own. Oh, hell yeah. That is a blue card. I needed that. I needed that quite badly. I have some degree of protection now. My opponent may be able to go off through that still. Let's play Delta. I'm going to attack for 3. Brings my opponent to 7. And now the question is, do I win more of the time by having Force of Will in hand, or do I win more of the time by having Punted Phantasm in play? And that's really tough. My opponent knows I have this Force of Will, right? They have presumably built their pile to beat it. I'm going to put this into play. Like, I'm happy to draw a blue card, but I think I just win more of the time by trying to kill my opponent next turn. Like, all of the Witherbloom commands are down here, so don't know what that means. Yeah, so opponent was planning on thought seizing me anyway. Alright, am I dead this turn to just... Okay, crop rotation. Okay, crop rotation gets Sunken Ruins for the 2 mana for Thassa's Oracle. Yeah. Okay, so my opponent built a pile that beat my Force of Will if I had that available. Alright, GG's. Alright, got a bit of a tricky hand here. Because this is a Bloodstained Mire, I can't get a basic land to, like, basic land ponder, find my second land, and then start playing Slaughter Specialist and Illness in the Ranks. I still think this is a keep. It's just a little sketch if I get Wastelanded on turn 1. Or if I miss on the Ponder, for that matter. But between Ponder and Brainstorm, that should be pretty unlikely. It can happen, but we've got a pretty good chance of finding our land drop. There is our land drop. The second Slaughter Specialist pairs together, like, very well with the first. I think I'm going to go ahead and bury the Brainstorm here. And go ahead and take my land. It will not shuffle. We've got Force pitching Force here, with the intention of keeping the Brainstorm and using the Brainstorm to find my third land at some point in this game. Ooh, an opposing Underground Sea deck. Yeah, that's fine. That is not worth my Force of Will. We are probably playing against something in, roughly the Doomsday ballpark. I do need to, I think, just go ahead and play out my threat here. Play a Slaughter Specialist this turn. And then with any luck, I'll draw a land so that I can play another Slaughter Specialist followed by Illness in the Ranks and have an extremely swift clock. Alright, you've got a human token. No, I have Force of Will. We also could be playing against Grixis Control. I think I played against that yesterday at some point. Oh, Scrubland. That worth forcing since I have another one? This is a lot of onboard damage versus an Esper Control deck. I'm going to go ahead and take that. Alright, do I want to try to Brainstorm into a land? If I miss the land, I just play Illness in the Ranks. I just want to play another Slaughter Specialist to make my opponent's blocks worse this turn. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this. My opponent gets a 1-1. Then I will crash in for presumably 3 damage, and then a billion damage next turn. Of course, the Plowshares is fine. It's when my opponent has a second removal spell right here that things are scary. I guess my opponent just played that around Daze. Sure. I don't want this Illness in the Ranks to get countered. Opponent trying to decide whether or not they want to block. They also know that I have an Illness in the Ranks in my hand, if they're still actively thinking about that anyway. Okay. think I am going to go ahead and brainstorm now. I'd really like to hit my next land drop here. Very nice. Let's just put back these two. I still have good attacks this turn, even if I don't play Illness in the Ranks. Like, I can play my War Riders this turn and try to really scale up. I think I like that. Although, if I don't play this and it gets hit by discard, that's super awkward for me, actually. So I've changed my mind. All right, there we go. So my Slaughter Specialist scales up, and then I can decide whether or not I want that Preordain. I think I don't want it under pretty much any circumstances. Ooh, opponent has another Swords. Oh, opponent does not have another Swords. Do I need to fetch around an opposition agent? Maybe I need to fetch around an opposition agent. What do I want here? It needs to be a blue land, I guess, in case of Wasteland. But then beyond that, it doesn't look like it matters too much. Pick up the bad lands for the sake of variety. Then I can't get Wastelanded off. No, actually, I can get Wastelanded off a blue there. Can't get Wastelanded off a color is the truth of the matter. Oh, and by the way, since I lost the first 2 rounds, I do need to win out to collect my $200 bounty, which is going to be tough. Like, the 3-2 bar is reasonable with this deck, but not easy. Okay, something's finally happening. Sure. Very good. What's the pause now? Are you debating whether or not to discard in case I have a land, or what? Oh, a 4th color, presumably for Prismatic Ending. Or Strix is fine. I think I'm going to hold this mountain for Brainstorm and not make that land drop here. I'm going to play this creature, but without something else to go with it. My board state is kind of anemic. I'm very much worried about my opponent just like finding a Planeswalker and then just carrying away the front half of this game. All right, so opponent has splashed for Expressive Iteration. I was thinking that was just going to be for like Prismatic Ending and Blasts, but I was wrong. Quite the greed pile from my opponent, but I have no ability to punish it with Wastelands or anything like that. Okay, that is exceptionally bad for me. I also kind of think you're supposed to remove the Illness in the Ranks there instead of the Varchilds, but I don't know what my opponent has in hand. If they have another answer to this thing so that this can't be a problem in the future, like, it's probably fine. I can get super punished for fetching Badlands this turn. I don't think I can draw all 3 of these cards. Like, this is okay. These 2 aren't really playable right now. So let's go ahead and shuffle and hope for something better. Rampaging Ferocidon. Not great. It's fine. It's got Menace, which is interesting. But I don't really have the things that pair with it right now. I'm going to go ahead and bottom that. And I think I bottomed this Preordain too. Because I fetched Badlands a few turns ago, I can't Preordain into the hunted creature. So I think I'm going to dig deeper and try to, just draw the card that I need. I don't think I make this land drop. I think my opponent's very far ahead at this point. Like, there's some world where just a 4/6 unblockable kills my opponent in 3 turns, but I think it's so likely happening like that. Oh, okay, you're just gonna eat the Illness in the Ranks right now. Sure. I thought my opponent was gonna greed harder. Oh, interesting. Like, that works here, but Expressive Iteration or Prismatic Ending there seems better to me. Sure, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just overwhelmed here to the point where I can't win this one. That's a good draw. Like, my opponent not getting rid of my Illness in the Ranks comes back to bite them in the butt here, unless they have like a Force of Will or a Pyroblast or something. Okay, cool. I have my opponent on a 3-turn clock. Oh, yeah, okay. Life's bad, basically. It hit for 6 there. I needed this a little bit earlier. Like, this is fine, but, like, if I would have had that last turn and would have gotten a drain 5, gain 5, like, that would have been huge. And I've already used up a Hunted Phantasm. Ew, gross. Okay, opponent just, like, still refusing to remove the cards my deck is built around, which is very strange to me. Like, the easiest way for me to win is just rip 2 of these in a row and just have them resolve and, like, lightning bolt my opponent to the face for 10. But EI is probably not that bad of a play. Okay, that's fine then. That maybe punishes me for not playing out Mountain in some world, but I think I'm already just dead. Yeah, and breaking on that draw, I think, guarantees that I can't really come back from here. 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. And even if I play a reasonable sized blocker, yeah, it's not happening from here. GG. Alright, what do I want against my opponent's deck? Plague Engineer seems reasonable. Expressive Iteration seems reasonable. Force of Will is coming out. Pyroblasts are okay. My opponent has, my opponent feels like base Esper with a couple of red cards that they've splashed for. The red cards are admittedly very good. I don't know, I'm so bad at dealing with Planeswalkers that I probably have to board in some number of these. I guess means some number of Preordains are coming out, because I just have to kind of keep the fat of the deck, just kind of due to deck construction. Like, maybe I can get rid of a Rampaging Ferocidon or something over a Preordain. But if I'm boarding in a couple of cantrips anyway in the form of EI, this seems reasonable. This is a hand that doesn't really have enough mana, and if I miss on Brainstorm, I think I'm just instantly dead. It's got a very cool interaction with these 3 cards, but I think I'd rather mulligan and keep a more consistent and safer hand, which this is not it. Unfortunately, we'll be going to 5 here. Mulligan. This is a better version of the first hand. I will absolutely keep this. Not super great versus Prismatic Ending. I need to keep EI to come back from card advantage, and I think I need to keep these, which means Plague Engineer is my other card that goes back. Alright, unfortunately, this is my black source here, so things can get a little awkward if this doesn't resolve. Or if it just eats a Prismatic Ending, actually. You know, that's somewhat likely to happen at some point in this game. But not right now, and I can come back from it. So let's go ahead and curse our opponent. And now we have a guaranteed 1 damage a turn drain. Okay, just fetching for the sake of fetching there, sure. Go for it. What's happening here? Him is a disaster. That is a very good top deck to compensate for that disaster. Alright, let's always yield to this as well. But life's bad. Like, the Teferi type cards are going to start doing a lot of work. Why are we doing something with this timing? Like, if you have a removal spell for this, I think you remove it on my turn so you don't lose the life. Alright, I've drawn a Trespasser's Curse. Am I getting hit by a Culligan's Command here? What are you doing? Okay, yeah. That's fine. This is not an instant speed card, unfortunately. So I will crash in for 3, bringing my opponent to 12. And I think I'll just tap this for 1 damage right now, while nothing weird can happen. And we'll see what my opponent can do. Again, a removal spell is very strong here. Any sort of Prismatic Ending, Source of Plowshares, Teferi type card is just very good. Like, I took a double mulligan, then got hit by a him and a Culligan's Command, so I am way behind in terms of raw number of cards. Alright, we're seeing some movement with a Ponder from my opponent, which is probably a good news for me. Alright, there's no shuffle, and now we'll see if they follow it up with like a powerful Planeswalker or something. Yeah, Teferi's quite good here. Buys them a decent amount of time. Do I want a Slaughter Specialist now or a War Riders now? Probably War Riders now to set up the long-term just power of this card. Like, if I play this and then play Slaughter Specialist next turn, especially if I draw a land, that's pretty good for me. Every point of drain that I get out of this card is just fantastic. Alright. Life's bad. Alright, sure. That was expected. What's the follow-up? Nothing immediately. My opponent could just, like, instant speed him to Turok me. Or something like that. Alright, so, yes, you get a token. I get to gain some life. I have made it to my main phase. I don't know that I really want to brainstorm right now. I think I'm going to just go ahead and play the Slaughter Specialist. And then the whole Trespasser's Curse thing happens. This enters the battlefield. I'll get to drain my opponent for another one. And then put a counter on this. I am expecting this creature to die. Possible this dies, it's possible both dies. I think I'm just going to go for the throat here and ignore Teferi, which is something that I don't usually try to do, but opponent's at 6 after that fetch. Like, I have 1 damage a turn from Trespasser's Curse, so every single point of damage matters. Interesting. So opponent had Snapcaster Hymn to Turok as a thing that they could do on this turn to take out both of my cards in hand, and they chose not to do that. That seems like a mistake to me. Alright, so I'll discard this Brainstorm. Alright, sure. They'll go to 5. They can block this and get rid of my creature, but, like, I have Rampage. So I trample over a little bit. Or sorry, Rampage is when more than one creature blocks it. It just triggers anyway. Alright, Brainstorm away. The opponent's dead on board to Slaughter Specialist. They're dead in 3 turns to me tapping my lands. They, like, can very potentially have a lot of things that answer my Slaughter Specialist. Okay, there's another Teferi, sure. Glad I didn't attack the first. Sure, bounce a Slaughter Specialist. That's not going to be the best for my opponent, just in terms of their life total. As I play this, tapping Forbidden Orchard triggers Trespasser's Curse. Slaughter Specialist resolves, giving my opponent another token, triggering Trespasser's Curse. So now my opponent never gets to fetch again, and they're dead on board to my Trespasser's Curse. Alright. Situation's bad for my opponent. Not unwinnable. Like, opponent has prismatic endings and stuff in deck that can answer my stuff, but every mana they spend on something that is not impacting the board is bad, because they need to both kill Slaughter Specialist and Trespasser's Curse, or they're dead. Scalding Tarn, not a good hit there. I think my opponent no longer really has outs, right? They can Swords to Plowshare, Slaughter Specialist, but then they can't Prismatic Ending my Trespasser's Curse. Yeah, okay. I think that one was winnable for my opponent. I think they use the Snapcaster Mage to him to Turok me. That takes my good card that I drew plus Brainstorm, and then they hope to use the cantrips that they had in their hand to then answer the on-board Varchild's War Riders. I think that puts them in a better position. But that's a view from my side of the battlefield. So take that with a grain of salt. Given all these Snapcasters that I've seen, I'm very much on board with the Pyroblast type stuff. It's something that can get stuck in my hand, which isn't the greatest, but I think it's fine. Like, it's not the greatest for, like, the Hymn to Turok based reasons. This hand is unexciting, but I probably keep it. Like, I ponder early, I play a couple of these, and then hope that I find, you know, Ferocidon, Slaughter Specialist, Trespasser's Curse, anything like that. I think I just have enough raw hits that this is going to be strong. Let's ponder immediately. Oh, that's tough. Those are good cards. They are good cards that I do not want right now. Like, I want to play Riders into Hunted Phantasm, or maybe Riders into Riders plus Illness in the Ranks. I think I'm going to shuffle those very good cards away. I am probably happier with the Slaughter Specialist than the Expressive Iteration in the short to medium term. Alright, a follow-up Tundra after the Brainstorm, and then it looks like we're probably seeing a Ponder Shuffle. Oh, no Ponder Shuffle. Trespasser's Curse. I like that. When do I want to play that? Probably now, so I can play Hunted Phantasm next turn and dome my opponent for 5 if that's something that I want to do. Really want to find an Illness in the Ranks, or a Plague Engineer, or anything of that general nature. I don't know. Maybe I want to play this on like the same turn that I play Slaughter Specialist a little bit later. Have my opponent use some removal onto this card first. Like, if my opponent is about to play a Teferi, this is something that requires a bounce. Alright. How bad is this turn for me? Let's find out. For sure? Okay, there is the Teferi, so we'll see Teferi bounce here. That's fine. Love to draw 1-drop for this turn. Nope. So, I don't think I want to give my opponent 5 creatures right now. I think I am just going to play something that attacks relatively well into the board for the next turn. And then I have some double spell lines available starting next turn. I would really love getting Trespasser's Curse in play and then resolving back-to-back Hunted Phantasms. Like, that is a lot of direct damage. I'm not super ready to commit these things to the board without a little bit more punishment in play. Polluted Delta entered the exile zone and then you played Badlands? Interesting. Alright. You may have a survivor. Do I want to brainstorm here? There are some very good things that I can draw. Pyroblast is great. Illness in the Ranks is great. I don't know. I kind of just want to play Trespasser's Curse and Slaughter Specialist. And then attack the Teferi. Giving my opponent the extra tokens doesn't really matter for rampage-based reasons. Leave me without a fetch land for the brainstorm. I think I'm potentially okay with that. Let's fetch. Because I have so many blue pips in my hand, I think I'm just going to grab an Underground Sea and a Volk here. Sorry, grab Underground Sea with that first fetch land. And I'll grab Volk with the second one. Play a Trespasser's Curse on my opponent. Let's slam a Slaughter Specialist. And this gives my opponent another token and drains them for 1. And then I think we go ahead and just ship this at the Teferi still, just so it won't be an issue later. Okay. So that kills my creature, but it also kills the Teferi and grows my Slaughter Specialist, which overall is probably a win for me. In theory, I have 10 points of burn in hand. I cannot overstate how much I want to fucking draw Illness in the Ranks. I will potentially brainstorm for it next turn. There is a new Teferi, which is annoying. Then I'll bounce my Slaughter Specialist out of play. I can... Okay, sure, that's fine. My hand's pretty redundant. My opponent taking one of these cards means it's harder for me to, like, effectively double spell next turn. Yeah, I'll take the 2 there. That's totally fine. I think I want to ponder here. I think I am very specifically looking for 1 card. But if I ponder and miss, then my brainstorm becomes a little risky. I think I'm fine with that overall. Let's ponder. We're looking for Illness in the Ranks. Ooh, Pyroblast, though? This is a good combination of cards. I think I keep these. Yeah, I think this is fine. I won't shuffle my library. Oh, this is less good than I thought it was. I tapped this instead of this. In that case, let's get 1 card deeper with Brainstorm right now. Okay. Another Trespasser's Curse is really cool, actually. Maybe I just play that this turn and let them plus the Teferi. Hide Pyroblast on top. And then just play a couple of Hunted Phantasms and kill my opponent. Yeah, let's do that. Alright. Second, Trespasser's Curse, and now we're less soft to Prismatic Ending or another bounce effect. Alright, it has resolved. Good stuff. What do you got for me? Prismatic Ending? Okay, they're taking out 1 of them. That's fine. I don't care about Baleful Strix. Like, my primary creature is going to be unblockable. And my opponent's not going to keep Teferi around long enough to, like, bounce that and get more cards out of it or anything. Or at least I hope not. I think I kind of sandbag my Hunted Phantasms for a little while. There's also some worlds where I just play double Varchild's War Riders in this turn cycle. And then do Pyroblast shenanigans the following turn. That's a little rough versus discard, though. Alright, so I got the card off Strix. They'll crash in for a couple points of damage. The points of damage are irrelevant. Like, this game is all about whether or not my opponent can control my board. Do I play double War Riders this turn? It's so bad versus, like, an Inquisition. I don't know, it's so good next turn if I can just, like, blast Baleful Strix and then kill Teferi, but I think we're in risky enough territory that I just do this. It makes my turn much less mana efficient, which I don't really like, but it's probably fine. And again, every point of damage I get in with one of these, and like Trespasser's Curse, helps out a lot, because I just have 15 theor. Wow, okay. Was not expecting that. Sure. The lifelinker is super annoying here. Alright, so I deal 1 my opponent with this. Does this have any kill a creature mode? No, it does not. What happens if I attack with this? My opponent blocks with a 2/3 token and keeps their creature alive. Or sorry, their planeswalker alive. This lifelinker is super annoying. Got an unblockable creature. I'm just trying to think about whether or not I want to attack this turn. I'm just trying, like, are they doing the block with the Vampire Nighthawk? Or are they doing a block with Baleful Strix? Or are they just letting the Planeswalker die and then cracking me back for a whole bunch of damage? It's really hard for me to tell. Game has gotten very elaborate. Don't really want my opponent to make another one of those tokens. So I think I'm going to go ahead and crash on in at Sorin. Also, there's a decent number of worlds where this match ends up going to a timeout. Alright. Let's go at Sorin and see how my opponent responds here. I have not had a good read on the lines that my opponent is taking this game. Okay. It looks like we're eating a Swords to Plowshares here. Ooh, it is a Mystic Sanctuary or Prismatic Ending. That is very good. That is very, very good. Don't know why my opponent is showing me that now, though. That does not make any sense. Like, imagine if I had a Wasteland and I could take out that Tundra. Oh, shit. Is Rampage about to happen? Oh, shit, Rampage is about to happen. Oop, let me mute that. Okay, so my creature has turned into a 6/7 with Trample. And my opponent has just lost 6 permanents to an attack with a 3/4 creature. That is bad for them. They have a Prismatic Ending. They are about to answer my Trespasser's Curse. I think this is Hunting Phantasm time for a large amount of damage. I think I just need to take that burn spell. And then there's some worlds where my opponent removes Hunted Phantasm instead of Trespasser's Curse, and then I just, like, do this 2 more times. Okay, they did remove the curse. Again, which is annoying for me. Okay. I really don't like my opponent's sequencing here. Like, I feel like Expressive Iteration should come first, like, you do your selection spells before anything else, but, like, clock is getting low, so, like, it is what it is. How do I win from here? Opponent has 7 power in play. Soon to be a lot more. I think I win by playing something that weakens all of these tokens. I think I need to play this as a blocker, but I don't know that I can play a Hunted Phantasm this turn. Like, the plan was to use these as burn spells, and that plan has fallen apart. So I think I'm hoping to draw an Illness in the Ranks or a cantrip for Illness in the Ranks. Ponder is fine. No shuffle with that, so something bad or other is about to happen to me. Yep. This was a really cool round. I think I'm going to try to get opponent's deck list at the end here. Alright, there is a Prismatic Ending. I'm going to take 7 this turn. I do not have a lot of time here. Fuck yeah. Alright. These are goblin tokens. Goblin tokens. Please don't force of will me. It's very important that you don't force of will me here. Nice. That takes pretty much all of the pressure off of my board here. Alright, an Inquisition takes one of these, which is very good. That was a 4/6 unblockable with no downside on current board. Very good. So that junks Plague Engineer for the time being. Alright. So now I will go ahead and cast my Plague Engineer, and we'll be putting it on Spirit this time for Forbidden Orchard. And then we'll go ahead and just make sure these are going to die. Okay. First one resolved properly. Let's see if second one resolves properly. Okay, cool. It does. Now, my opponent knows this card is coming. Ooh. Okay, that's fine, but scary for me. Yikes. Ooh, a Pyroblast. I'm gonna take 7 here. That's scary. I am probably dead next turn. Unless I draw, like, an Illness in the Ranks. Yeah, that'll be it. GG's. I'm gonna try to get my opponent's deck list. Okay, I did manage to get the deck list from my opponent. It turns out it was a Bosch and Roll deck from about a month ago. Ooh, we are playing against Esper Sentinel here. So this is probably the Hammer Time deck list that has been making some rounds. Now, do I get to play the Ristic Study Tax this game? Or do I have to just curve out? I'm gonna play turn 2 Illness in the Ranks, turn 3 Slaughter Specialist, and just start going from there. I think that's fine. Yeah. Alright, that's fine. Oh, now it's not fine. Those large creatures are a problem for me. This mom isn't great for me either. Alright. Do I want to / need to play out Forbidden Orchard this turn? Also, do I just want to give my opponent a... Maybe I play Trespasser's Curse this turn. And Illness in the Ranks and Slaughter Specialist. Man, this Esper Sentinel is pretty bad for me, honestly. Alright, let's grab some lands, and let's play around this turn. I wish my opponent didn't have a bunch of artifacts, so that, like, the Urza Saga token was a 1/1 that would just immediately die, but that is not the world that I am living in right now. No, it's even bigger. Oh, am I dead? Oh, I am fucked next turn. Absolutely dead. So I am eating double Colossus Hammer next turn. My opponent gets 1 off Urza's Saga, and then my opponent gets 1 off of just casting what they just got with their Stoneforge. So they also have protection from whatever. Yeah, I am fucking dead on turn 3. Or I guess technically they're turn 4. Meltdown is pretty sick here. Like that a lot. I will probably play Plague Engineer. Yeah, I'll probably play Plague Engineer just to help clean up Mother Runes and Esper Sentinel and such. Not sure how I feel about Force of Will. Like, my opponent's deck is kind of redundant, and most of the cards that they play aren't actually worth Force of Willing. But I kind of have to stop the hammer. But since the hammer comes attached to, like, so many different things like Stoneboard, I don't think I'll be boarding in Force of Negation or anything. I'm torn between just, like, boarding out the Force of Wills and saying, like, I'm going to try to find Meltdown to solve this matchup, and continuing to board out the Preordains, or maybe, like, 2 Preordains and 2 Rampaging Ferocidons or something. Yeah, I think I like keeping some extra number of cantrips to help find Meltdown. I don't think I want to try to grind against this opponent. I think this matchup is going to be much more about, like, just try to kill my opponent or stop my opponent from doing their thing. I think I'm on board with just keeping this hand. This is going to be an extremely large Slaughter Specialist. Yeah. This is going to be a very thick creature. Going to pressure my opponent a lot. This isn't like the Meltdown dream hand that I want, but this produces my own giant creature relatively quickly. I'm going to think for a second about whether or not I want to just play this first. No, I think I just want to play Slaughter Specialist immediately into Hunted Phantasm next turn. And then 7 creatures die. That's pretty damn good. Like, that's a very good curve out for me. And then after that, I can try to, like, brainstorm into a Meltdown or a Trespasser's Curse or something cool like that to finish off the game from there. All right. The opponent is finding a hammer. In good news, I do have an unblockable creature. Bad news, I could still die next turn very easily. Ooh, especially now. Okay, that's all fine. So, let's play a big. And let's always yield to these, and always yield to these. All right, we have a 6/6, and 5 more creatures die. I have an 11/11. That's pretty damn good. This is probably the best hand that I've had all league. And, like, the reason why is because my opponent did not interact with any of my first 3 plays. And I'll talk about this in a bit, but I think the reason this deck falls apart is this deck falls apart when a key piece is removed from the hand. And it doesn't quite have enough redundancy. Do I want to Force of Negation on the draw? Want is a strong word. Do I need to do that? Maybe. Do I cut Preordains on the draw for Force of Negation? Maybe I do. Like, I'm not very excited about this play. I don't know. At the same time, I really need to, like, use these cantrips to set up, like, Meltdowns. And I don't know that I can ever cut. I don't know. Maybe I can cut 2 War Riders in this matchup. I don't know. Like, they're a little slower for a matchup where I really want to go fast, but, like, one of their upsides is that they have trample. This is a hand. It has a land and a ponder to find the next land. It has another ponder in case that doesn't work. But one of those ponders probably gets pitched to Force of Will. It has Trespasser's Curse, Water Specialist, and Plague Engineer. Like, there's a lot to like here. I just imagine this ponder as a land. Is this a keep? Maybe. It isn't nearly as powerful as the last hand. And my cantrips are relegated to finding lands. I think I'll ship. And I am rewarded with a no-lander, so we'll go to 5. This is going to be a keep. I think it's a keep where I have to pitch the blue cards and try to curve into something that kills my opponent. Not super happy about that. All right. Slaughter Specialist got a lot worse. Okay, now I have 2 of them. That helps a lot. If I do this and then I draw... No, I'm just going to play Slaughter Specialist next turn pretty much 100% of the time. This is fine. I just don't think I'm going to be able to keep up on the draw here. All right, that is scary for me. That is one of the cards that I absolutely don't want my opponent to have. And oh shit, they just have 11 damage this turn. I don't think there's any worlds in which I come back from that. So we're punished for not keeping Force of Will, Force of Negation, but I can't really keep that on a mold of 5, I don't think. Yeah, so I will go ahead and concede here, and this is going to be an 0-4 drop league. All right. I have some thoughts on the deck list now that I've played another league with this. So I think the primary issue with this deck list is Illness in the Ranks is the most important card in the deck by a lot. So for these fair Varchild's War Riders situations and like these like Slaughter Specialist gearing up very quickly and the Hunted Phantasms becoming playable, like all of those things hinge on having Illness in the ranks. There's a 4 of that there's not great redundancy for. Plague Engineers in the sideboard kind of help with that, but like you really want something that you can play out early to kind of help out with these things. So I wonder if this deck wants another -1/-1 effect. The issue is that a lot of the ones that I can think of off the top of my head cost like 4 mana. So like at 4 mana, there's what is it, Knight of Souls Betrayal or something like that, that gives all creatures -1/-1. And we don't really care if our creatures shrink, like that's not a big deal, especially since some of them scale. But just in terms of curve, it's not the best to play that after you play something like the Hunted Phantasm. And I think in this prismatic ending world that we live in, where enchantments are not just safe like they used to be, it's a hard sell to do this. I like the blue for trying to assemble these very specific combinations of cards that we need, but I think this deck fundamentally has a problem in that if you're a blue deck in the format, you really need expressive iteration in order to have the card advantage necessary to keep up with other blue decks in the format. But like because my curve is relatively speaking so high in comparison to other blue decks, my expressive iterations are just going to be worse on average. And I don't want to be casting expressive iteration to just hit land drops. I want to be casting it to find and assemble these multiple pieces that I need to work together. So I guess ultimately, this deck requires the cards that it plays to live in order to be good. And most of the cards are not singularly powerful. I guess that's kind of its primary issue. And that's not something that's necessarily going to be fixed. Some of the games that I won because like my opponent didn't know exactly how Rampage worked with multiple blockers. And some things like that. So while this deck was able to put up some wins in the tournament practice room against other similarly sketchy strategies, I don't know that it has what it takes with the card pool that I am playing here. Like, maybe you can go deeper on some cantrips, maybe you can try going down on some lands, maybe you move up like 4 Plague Engineers to the main deck, but like Plague Engineer has multiple different creature types that it cares about. So, like, Plague Engineer isn't necessarily the redundancy you want for Illness in the ranks. So ultimately, I don't know quite how to take this one further than where it's at now. The answer may just be like, accept the awkwardness of expressive iteration and just like play it over preordain in the main deck and just like try to be carried by some cards with raw power levels. But at that point, like, are you better off just being a Grixis control deck or a Delver deck or something of that nature? And the answer is probably yes. So that's a lot of words to say. This one isn't quite here. Bounty failed, but I don't feel bad about it because it was a fun league to play. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on your way out, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day. If you have something crazy that you want to see on the channel or you want to mess around with this deck list, remember that information, as always, is available in the video description. See ya!